My husband was old, and I spent time with a 15-year-old boy to satisfy my cravings. But one day, when my husband found out, my old husband beat me up for 4 hours. 4 years had passed since my marriage, and I had no children. I was very worried. The biggest reason for not having children was my husband. My husband was older than me, and I was only 22 years old. My husband was 65 years old. I did not want to marry him, but my family forced me to marry an older man. Because my family was greedy for money, my husband earned well, and whenever he came to our house, he would bring boxes of fruit, which impressed my family. My brother worked in my husband's office. One day, my brother forgot his food at home, so I went to the office to give him food. There, I bumped into his boss. I was in such a hurry that I did not even look back at the person. I just said sorry and moved on. My brother's husband thought that maybe I did not stop because of arrogance, although there was nothing like that. I quickly went to my brother. When I reached the cabin, his boss also followed me and was surprised to see me, because I was only 19 years old at that time. I was incredibly beautiful. As soon as his boss saw me, his heart became unfaithful to me, and he had also promoted my brother to impress him. One day, we came to know that he wanted to marry me. At first, my parents were very angry, but then when my brother showed them the glitter of wealth, they agreed. Who does not love wealth? Everyone wants to be rich as soon as possible. My brother also made me a ladder to get rich, and he did not even notice that I was much younger than this person. My parents almost strangled my dreams and married me to a man twice his age. At the time of marriage, my parents and brother severed all ties with me because these were the conditions in the marriage contract, and it was also written that if I get divorced, I will have to give a lot of gold and money to my husband in return. I quietly drank poison at the behest of my parents and got married. At the time of leaving, I hugged my mother and they bid me farewell as if they were seeing me for the last time. I was patient and did not even say a word to my family. As soon as I got married and reached this house, I came to know that this man had sons of my age. His wife had died. I thought to myself why I had been brought to this house while this man's young sons were present at home. I quietly went to my room. My husband sent me to my room with the maid. The room was lightly decorated. I went and sat on the bed, and the maid said, "Will you eat here or outside?" As my hunger had almost disappeared, I said, "No, thank you. If you need anything, I will take it myself." The maid greeted me very politely and left the room. I sat in the room hungry and thirsty all day. My husband left me at home and went to the office himself. I was worried that someone would treat his bride like this. Okay, it was his second marriage, but it was my first. He should have at least respected my feelings. The whole day passed sitting in the room, and in the evening my husband came home. As soon as my husband came home, the maid told me that I did not eat, so he scolded the maid and brought food for me to the room. He looked at me while putting the food on the plate and said, "Now I cannot bring food for you every day. You are now the mistress of this house, so you should take care of yourself." I shook my head at this. This man told me one thing that surprised me a lot. That was that I married you only for myself. I cannot give you the happiness that a woman needs. Hearing this, I was surprised that when he could not give you happiness, then why did he marry me? I looked at him, and he noticed my rising eyes. The way I saw him, anyone could understand my behavior. He did not say anything and said, "Eat food. I'm getting ready to sleep. You also change and sleep." I put 2 bites in my mouth and left the rest of the food in the kitchen. She went to put it away. As soon as I entered the kitchen, the maid was washing the dishes. I handed the dishes to the maid, and as soon as I returned, I saw that my husband was sleeping on the sofa. Seeing my husband sleeping on the sofa made me very sad. I felt very strange. I lay down on the bed like a complete stranger, and I started thinking about what my life was like. What else has happened? I would neither go to feed my brother, nor would I be stuck here. I missed my family a lot. Thinking about my parents, big tears came out of my eyes and flowed down my cheeks. Thinking about them, I don't know when I fell asleep and fell asleep. When I woke up in the morning, it was 11 o'clock. I changed my clothes and went to the breakfast table and sat down. When I asked the maid about my husband, she said, "Sir, he had left for the office at 7 in the morning." When I asked about his sons, the maid said that they were about to wake up. I was just talking to the maid when her eldest son, who was 15 years old, sat down next to me. He started asking for breakfast, intimidating the maid. The maid quickly gave him breakfast and started making breakfast for me too. He was having breakfast, and I was looking at him carefully. I wanted him to talk to me, but he paid no attention and quietly finished his breakfast and got up from the table. I started thinking about what a strange boy he was. He left silently after breakfast without any greeting or prayer. Sitting at the breakfast table, I started thinking about my family again. I missed my mother's handmade parathas a lot. I had a light breakfast and I also went to my room. My husband had a routine that he would wake up every morning and go to the office before I woke up. As soon as he returned at night, he would go to his bed silently, tired. I was surprised. I did not understand his behavior at all. I had silently drunk a cup of patience. Neither did I ever ask any questions, nor did this person answer any questions, as life was going on. My husband's younger son had gone to his maternal uncle's house outside the country to study. He was 13 years old. He liked to live with his maternal uncle from the beginning. He did not like living in Pakistan at all. It was raining heavily today. As soon as I woke up, I looked out the window and saw the beautiful weather. The rain was so heavy that I wanted to take a shower in the rain. As soon as I left the room, the maid asked about breakfast. I said I would wait a little longer. "First, let me take a shower in the rain." I had not finished speaking when the maid told me that my husband's son was also taking a bath in the rain. I thought, let's go and use this as an excuse to gossip, and stood a little distance from him and started watching him taking a bath. Seeing me, he smiled slightly, so I understood that maybe he wanted to talk to me. In the meantime, he came closer to me and said, "Aren't you going to take a bath?" It was too late for him to ask. At first, I refused, but then he pulled me by the hand and took me into the rain, and we both started taking a bath in the rain. Now, I was completely soaked in the rain. Due to the soaking, every part of my body was visible, which he was looking at carefully. I was also yearning for a man. There was something in his eyes that made me take off my dupatta and deliberately show myself to him. The more he looked at me, the more I liked him, because there was only a 5-year age difference between me and him. After bathing together in the rain, we became friends. Now I tried my best to spend time with him. I asked him his name. When I asked him his name, he told me that his name was Salman. "My name is Rabia," I quickly said. Salman shook hands with me and we became friends. Now he started telling me everything about himself, good and bad, and I also shared many things with him, which he kept secret. One of these things was that his father was being unfair to me. He sympathized with me. Now he also wanted to spend time with me. Slowly, we both started getting closer to each other, and we got so close that he started loving me. When he expressed his love for me, I was very happy in my heart, because all my desires were about to be fulfilled. I kept avoiding him deliberately. He was young, so he got carried away quickly, and thus began a new lesson in our love. Slowly, time passed and we both started getting closer to each other. Now it came to the point that he even felt bad about me staying in the same room with my husband. I deliberately walked back and forth with my husband to irritate him, but my husband paid no attention to me. I became disappointed. I thought that maybe that person would be attracted to me. Finally, one day, my hard work paid off, and my husband got lost. And that day, for the first time in my life, a man touched me. But my satisfaction was not complete, and my husband got up soon. I was very disappointed. Now I started yearning even more, but my yearning could not be fulfilled by my husband. I thought that maybe my husband has become old, That is why he is not able to fulfill my yearning. But how long could I be patient? I was still young. As soon as I saw Salman, emotions would start to arise inside me. As soon as my husband left for the office, I would immediately reach Salman's room and touch him in a way that he would not even suspect, and he would not be able to live without me. I did whatever I had to do to seduce Salman. I deliberately wore the clothes that could seduce any man towards a woman. One day, I wore Salman's favorite clothes and went to his room. He loved girls' shorts. I also wore shorts and went to his room. Seeing me, he could not control himself. And finally, everything that happens between a man and a woman happened. He lost his emotions, and we both came so close. Salman was 5 years younger than me, so he gave me a lot of pleasure. When we both came to our senses, Salman was very embarrassed. I explained to him lovingly and said, "Don't tell your father anything. And anyway, how will your father know? No one will suspect us, and your pleasure will continue to be fulfilled. And my need will also be fulfilled." I cried a lot of lies in front of him and said 2 or 3 things against his father, so that he could sympathize with me. And that's how it happened. He was still a child, so he got lost and fell for my words. Now, every day was my honeymoon. We both had a lot of fun together. As soon as my husband left the house, we both spent a lot of time together in a room. Slowly, time passed, and we both came closer to each other. Salman was completely in my grasp. He obeyed everything I said. He followed me wherever I asked him, and my husband did not even suspect. He thought that maybe we both were the same age. That is why we liked to spend time together. During this time, I also tried to please my husband. I did not distance myself from my husband, so that he would not have any suspicions, and I could play my game well. Finally, one day came when my husband had to go out of the country for some important work. Salman and I were very happy, but also sad on top of it. Salman and I pretended to be sad, and the day my husband had a flight, I even cried a lot. I hugged my husband tightly and tried to convince him that I really couldn't live without him, even though the reality was the opposite. We were both very happy in our hearts that the obstacle had been removed. Now we could spend many nights together. We had no fear of anyone. After my husband left, I immediately gave leave to the employees and said that we are planning to go somewhere in Pakistan. So you guys came back after spending your vacation peacefully. The employees were also happy, and everyone went to their respective homes. Now only Salman and I were left at home. I had no place to be happy. Because the work that I had to do secretly, today I was going to do it publicly. We both had planned to spend time with each other, and it was successful. Earlier only during the day, but now Salman and I started sleeping together at night too. He was also young blood, and there was a lot of passion in him too. And now we started playing our game openly. During this time, I completely forgot what kind of relationship Salman and I had. We crossed every limit. Now we had no other work to do day and night. We both were lost in each other. One night, suddenly, we were so close that my husband came back, and he saw me and Salman doing everything that he had never thought of, could have. We both got very scared, but Salman was not scared at all. He held my hand and faced his father. I had removed all fear of his father from his heart. Salman held my hand in front of his father and said, "You should divorce her. She is not happy with you at all. She is happy with me, and I want to marry her." Hearing this from Salman, my husband got angry, and he immediately pulled my hand and said, "This is my wife. I know how and when and where to keep her. You don't need to worry about her at all." Salman pulled my hand once again, and holding it close to him, said, "Rabia, tell me you love me and don't want to be with this person." Once I was scared, but Salman was with me, so I also became brave and looked into my husband's eyes and said, "I love Salman and don't want to be with you." After hearing this, my husband I went and said, "Haven't you received every happiness and every money from me? I have given you everything. What else do you want?" I lied and said, "You have never given me the happiness that Salman is giving me. You have never even touched me." Hearing my lie, my husband became furious and pulled me towards him and said, "Okay, You want all this, no money. Come on, I will fulfill this wish of yours too. He brought me to my room in front of Salman, and I also went with him without making a noise. Salman kept watching me leave. As soon as I entered the room, my husband threw me on the bed and said, "Did you think I was unaware of you? I will not know anything you will do. I knew about your every move, but I went there deliberately so that I could see what you were doing. You did not do well with me, and I will definitely punish you for your unfaithfulness. Don't forget that he is my son. Whatever he did to you, he did on my orders. Yes, it did not include my consent for you to go so close to him, but he asked me to test you. He was hot-blooded and went astray, but you were married, if not your own, would at least believe in your relationship. My going abroad and your going close to him were both father and son's plans. He had promised me that he would prove you wrong, and look, he did it, and you became a fool in his hands. Hearing this from my husband, I was very worried, and I was even more shocked when he said that he was testing me. He didn't love me. I was feeling sorry for myself. How could a little boy make a fool of me, and I became a fool at his hands? I was just thinking about all these things when my husband threw me on the bed and started to test his power over me. I don't know what kind of devil was riding on my husband. He took out a tablet from the bed and swallowed it, and he dominated me, and he had a lot of power. At first, I enjoyed it a lot, and I kept lying down silently, but then slowly my courage started to respond. I kept asking him to take me back, but he would dominate me with the same force every time. Now, I was very tired. Now, all this had become unbearable for me, because 4 hours had passed since we had been together. I had had enough in those 4 hours. I folded my hands in front of my husband and apologized to him, but he refused to leave me, saying that this was the only thing I was hungry for. I had nothing to do with a respectable life, and then I understood that he was taking revenge on me. Finally, I quickly touched his feet and apologized to him. After all, I was a human being. How long could I bear the pain? While doing all this, I fainted, and when I regained consciousness, he was standing next to me. After about 4 hours, when I came out of my room, the maid told me that Salman Sahib had gone to the airport because he was going to his maternal uncle's house. Hearing this from the maid, I remembered everything my husband had said, which turned out to be absolutely true. He had really ruined my life. He had destroyed my happy home. I couldn't even go to my parents. Even if I did, how could I? My husband divorced me and threw me out of the house, saying that I lusted after men. I couldn't live with just one person. He not only divorced me, but also threw me out of his house. Now I was completely helpless. So I planned to commit suicide, and deliberately crashed into a car. My life was saved, but now I was in the hands of people who were not worthy of living with any respectable person at all. I was in their house. Life returned to its normal state, but I found such a humiliating life which I had never imagined. The people I had been in the hands of used to drive girls away. Now every day a new man would sleep with me, and he would also torture me in many ways. Now I was the decoration of every man's bed, and I was living the rest of my life as usual. Sometimes a man would be so cruel that I could not bear it. But what could I do? Now these pains had become a part of my life. I thought, I will desist from all this. For these things, I had cheated on my husband, and when I was getting the same things, I wanted to run away from there. I started thinking intensely that I wish I had not done all this with Salman at that time. Then today I would be living a luxurious and comfortable life with my husband. Even if he was not able to fulfill my happiness, there was respect in this house. At my single voice, 4 servants would run away. At my single signal, my husband would kill me. I had ruined everything with my own hands. Finally, one day, a kind-hearted person came to meet me. He paid my price and gave me a chance to be released from there. I took advantage of the opportunity and left there. Now, again, I was wandering around the Badr area when one day suddenly I saw Salman. As soon as he saw me, He stepped forward and stopped me. "Rabia, where have you gone?" he asked with bated breath, so I shouted at him. "What new trick have you come to ruin my life again?" We met after 2 whole years. When we met, he told me that my husband had passed away, and when he was dying, he had made a will that I marry Rabia. I thought that I would definitely respect my husband's will, and Salman also fell down at my feet and apologized to me. I had no other choice, so I thought that maybe Allah had given me a chance to recover. I married Salman and also repented to Allah Almighty with a sincere heart, because indeed, He was very merciful and forgiving.